I was talking to some fellow dungeon masters and some collaborators on a role-playing game or event that I have going on at the moment, and I brought up GNS Theory, and they hadn't heard of GNS Theory, so I figured I'd quickly talk about what it is in case it interests anyone interested in role-playing game theory. I should point out that GNS Theory is not really something that um, many game designers like give a lot of credence to. Even its designer has moved on from it. But I will mention what it is because it's very good, and it's useful. It was originally developed by a fellow called Ron Edwards from the Forge website. That was a bit of a melting pot around the turn of this last century, and a melting pot of just game designers and game enthusiasts, role playing game enthusiasts. And Edwards ended up coming up with this. So the GNS stands for Gamism, Narrativism, and Simulationism. These are considered to be three elements that every game has to one degree or another, and most role playing games will focus on one of them in particular, usually. So, what are they? What is gamism, narrativism, and simulationism? Good question. I'm glad you asked. So, gamism refers to classic style of games. Your D&D falls into it. It prioritizes balance and fairness. Events are usually some kind of challenge. The game of it is very important too, as the name would suggest. And systems tend to be fortune based. We'll get into these different types of systems in a moment. Narrativism is focusing primarily on the story. It's the theme and mood, and storytelling is very important to it. You were looking for theme in the events and some kind of common feel going on with it. Drama is the system that's mostly used for it, and finally got simulationism, which is about authenticity. Not necessarily realism. Sometimes it is. A lot of simulationist games try to be realistic, such as Rollmaster, good example there. But even things like Call of Cthulhu, I guess, like that's often cited as something where you're trying to remain true to the source material. So we're looking for plausibility within its own world, or what you're trying to uh, simulate, as the name suggests. And we're using a karma system for. Let's talk a little bit about those systems. So fortune systems, karma systems, and drama systems, they were taken from Everway. Jonathan Tweet, well-known game designer, Over the Edge is something I have on the shelf of his. He's quite well known in the industry. Um, let's see what they are, because I've got those written up as well. So fortune systems, which tend to be best for things like gamist games, will use some kind of randomizer, and it's looking for chance. You're looking for some kind of ability to thrive on the tension of not knowing what's going to be happening next, but being able to stack the odds. And it's a challenge. Like when you, as in a game, you want to feel like you are able to challenge the system and be challenged, and you rise to that occasion. Karma systems, which simulationism is usually recommended using karma systems, they would use something else. Let's take this example, a ready situation D&D. It might say if you've got a +7 to sleight of hand, then you automatically can pick that person's pocket. If you've got +6 or less, you can't. Maybe you can make a roll. That would be the kind of thing that you would use in a karma system. Or, for instance, something like my character has a 5-star rating in strength and you only have a 3-star rating in strength, so I will always beat you in an arm wrestling contest. That's a karma system. That says like if you are able to do something, then you're always able to do it. The randomness is largely gone. You can just say, yeah, it's likely that I can. I am a skilled. I am a skilled practitioner. I'm a skilled mechanic. I can always fix a car, whatever's if it's a mundane problem with a car. And finally, we've got drama systems, and they tend to focus more on things where you can use your creativity, um, uh, collaborating on some kind of artistic process. That's where drama systems work. So to go through those all in one big messy spreadsheet here, um, we can look at what gamism, narrativism, and simulationism prefer to focus on. And the reason why this is important is because if you are trying to focus on a certain element of a game, let's say you're trying to make a narrativist game focusing on storytelling and the big dramatic moments, and yet you use, say, a fortune based system for it, then the system's going to work against the style of game that you're wanting to be running. If you're doing a gamism style of thing and you use a karma based system, then people might feel that they just don't have a chance in taking risks. And one of the things that a gamism player might like is taking risks. And if you want to encourage people to take risks, then using a drama based or karma based system probably won't do it as well. So this is why the system does matter in what you're using, and why a lot of times you'll find people saying that it doesn't matter what system we use as long as we're having fun. Well, yes, it does matter what system you're using, because if you're using a system that's actively working against what you want to do, then you won't have as much fun as you will if you use the appropriate system. Just a couple more things about game design while we're here. Ron Edwards ended up giving up on the GNS theory theory in favor of what he called the big model, and this is just a really this is a really simple write up of a very complex idea we got here, and just a couple of other things I'll pull in there. There's this idea of 4 stances which he brought into that model as well, and how we would use those stances. I also want to bring in something I found a couple of years ago in a publication which talked about the different aesthetics of games and how games can be more than just a game. For some people, it's escapism. For some people, it's a way of expressing themselves, and for some people, it's just performance. And I also wanted to mention, if you're talking about game design, Jared Sorensen's Big 3 questions is a good question to ask. They are good questions to ask, and especially in relation to how you can use the GNS system with your game design. So hopefully I've given you a brief primer on things that you can Google later. GNS Theory, it's worth looking at.